Welcome back to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. And as I mentioned in the last segment, actually, insurance. And one of the biggest myths, and I will have to be honest with you, I portrayed it out. And I know other realtors and even buyers have been under the impression that if a house that they're buying has had numerous claims, for whatever reason, I mean, it could be, of course, legit claims about a house, that they may have some problems either buying that home or getting insurance on it, or that they're going to be paying an outrageous rate to get that house and they'll never be able to afford the insurance and they can't buy the home. And that's why I wanted to bring in a good friend and also a fantastic insurance agent, Joe Harnist he's president of the Harnist Insurance Agency, and he's with us today. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, good, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you kind of heard what I talked about, and I was, quite frankly, myself, I've been doing this for 16 years. I was surprised by the answer, and the answer to what I just laid out is that true?
Well, Brian, it kind of depends. In certain cases, it could be. If you're dealing with claims to the physical property itself,
right,
that are a repetitive type of a claim, like a repetitive wind claim, or if they've had sewer backup issues that have been repetitive, that could create an issue. It may take some more documentation showing the insurance carrier that that issue has been solved and remediated and taken care of so that it's not going to occur again.
Well, that reminds me of the story that you told me. Maybe to kind of give that some more context that you talked, and you don't have to be specifically. I think it was in Belleville, but it was a wind situation, and maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. We had a client. It's been several years ago, but they lived at the end of a cul-de-sac, and they were straight ahead of the street that runs into the cul-de-sac on this location, and their home for like 3 or 4 years in a row, when we'd have storms in the spring, the front slope of their roof, the shingles would just get blown off because for some reason, just the way the houses were set in there and everything else, the wind would come down that street and it would just hit that house and blow those shingles off. And that happened every year for like 3 or 4 years. And at that point in time, finally the insurance company said, we're off of it. We're not going to keep paying this claim every single year. It's just one of those kind of freak type of things that occur. And actually, that was really the only one I've ever had that actually happen to. But it was really, really kind of unusual. But
right. And
where it was situated in the street, the wind shear just kept causing a claim every spring.
And I just wanted to make sure the listeners understood that's an extreme case. So that's a, like you said, you've been doing this for forever, and so it hardly ever happens. One out of who knows, a million, whatever. But the point being is though that they, as a seller, but mainly also as a buyer, they can go in with confidence that if maybe they're getting the wrong insurance information too, and maybe that's why they need to talk to a professional like you, Joe, with your company. If they're getting that type of information, getting some backlash of those reasons, basically you're saying that's simply not true, and they've got the wrong insurance agent.
Yeah, usually there's ways to mitigate the issues, and we talk with our underwriters every day, and I've done it with not only personal but commercial. You work through things with your underwriters and explain to them the situation. Like I said, there may be some things that have to be done to make it correct, but there's always a way to work through it. And again, it's mostly claims dealing with the physical property itself. If there's a lot of claims on the prior owner, but they're not dealing with the property, it's dealing with their liability, or they lost a ring and the jewelry, there's a jewelry claim or some other type of claim that doesn't involve the physical building itself, the house itself, that shouldn't be an issue for a new carrier writing insurance for a new owner.
So what I'm hearing you saying is the buyer, and even the seller for that matter, shouldn't be concerned about the insurance, and particularly the buyer shouldn't. It's basically a clean slate. as long as something crazy, like we talked about the wind situation, or something that's repetitive that keeps on happening every time, i.e. if you had maybe a gigantic tree over your house and limbs kept falling down, there might be some things you need to do as a seller and be aware of as a buyer. But that's good to know. Right. Because, quite frankly, that was one of the things that came up quite a bit. Hey, we're running out of time, but Joe's agreed to stay on for the next segment and talk about that dreaded mine subsidence issue, and he's got some great insights to that. Hey, you're listening to Ready, Set, Sold with your host, Bryan Vogt. Bye-bye.